I said, good morning. Awesome, awesome. I know that there's no better place to be than Nashville, Tennessee, with the faith and freedom proud. Now, I know we're here, I'm going to talk about some politics in a few minutes here, but before I get to politics, I want to talk about something a little more important than politics. How many of us remember Romans 8:31, that if God is for us, who can be against us? So let's get started on the right way. Second, I was thinking about this the other day, and the presence of adversity is not the absence of God. We need to remember that today more than perhaps in any other day in my lifetime, that the presence of adversity is not the absence of God. And I say that as a kid who understands adversity. Growing up in a single-parent household, mired in poverty, we had a lot of adversity. But I had two women on their knees praying to God that He was able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all that we ask or imagine. And it was those two praying women, my grandmother and my mother, who made a path for me. And so when I see the adversity of this day, I know good times are coming. You see, as a freshman in high school, after adversity had hit me and knocked me down, I wasn't doing very well. How many of y'all ever had a bad day? I had a bad 7 years. And as a freshman in high school, I literally failed out my freshman year. I failed 4 subjects: world geography and civics. Civics is a study of politics. Tells me God has a sense of humor. Now, I will say after 9 years in the U.S. Senate, I am not the only one failing civics in America's capital. Can I get an amen? There's a whole lot on the left hadn't figured this out. But I also failed Spanish and English. When you fail Spanish and English, no one calls you bilingual. They call you biignorant, because you can't speak in any language. And that's where I found my unhappy self. But I had those 2 blessings, 2 different blessings. One was a mother who prayed for me, and she would always encourage me. She would say, shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll be among the stars. I love that attitude. My mother would work 16 hours a day, 3 days a week. She'd work 8 hours a day, 2 days a week. She'd come home 11 o'clock at night. She'd look at my report card. She'd look at me. She looked at my report card, shake her head. And then at the end of my freshman year, she came home one night, and my mother does not like attitude. I gave her lots of attitude after failing out of school. She says, baby? I said, yes, Mama, I know. If I just shot for the moon. She said, no, sweetheart, you missed that lesson. So she took me outside over to a tree, and she said, pick a branch. All right, pick a branch. Pick the branch. She said, take the leaves off. I was like, and she introduced me to a new form of encouragement. Now, for those of you not from the South, a switch is a Southern apparatus of encouragement. She applied it from about here all the way down to here. And I was thoroughly encouraged. Sometimes I look around our country today, and sometimes I think we need a new form of encouragement around our country today. And I'll say this without any question. When I think about adversity and its presence in our nation, I think about the ways that we were able to eliminate adversity that led to opportunity, the way that we were able to see the problems that led to the promise. It was because we understood the importance of bedrock truth. That America is the solution. America is not the problem. We need to embrace that with all of our might, and we should ask ourselves, why is America not the problem? It's because the foundation of this country is a Judeo-Christian foundation. And upon the rock of universal truth, we are able to build an objective standard. And through an objective standard, we create the rule of law. And all of human flourishing requires the bedrock truth of a Judeo-Christian foundation. And when you adhere to the principles in the gospel, human flourishing cannot be stopped. Period. Not by anyone, not anywhere. But today, we were having this new conversation about truth. There's your truth and my truth. That's called a lie. Because there's only a truth, the truth. And John 8:32 tells us the truth will set you free. So in today's environment, in a post-truth America, where we think that your truth and my truth is actually your experience and my experience. So when we get back to the bedrock of truth, here's what we find. We find the ability to make good decisions on really complicated and difficult topics. Without it, people have a chance to say, oh no, that's not what really happened because it's my truth. Well, let me give you 4 or 5 examples where this is a problem and we are the solution, and it's good news. You see, when President Biden says Afghanistan was a good withdrawal, we know that ain't the truth. When we hear that line, we know that when you lose 13 American soldiers and you leave thousands of Americans stranded, there's an absence of truth. But they want us to believe what they say in spite of what we see. We're not buying it. You see, when they tell us that we can't know what curriculum is being taught to our kids in school, that's a problem. But that's why the GOP, the Great Opportunity Party, come on now, we are the party of parents. We stand up for the parents of this nation. And we saw what happens when you stand with the parents in this nation. Virginia is a classic example of bringing the blue to the red. Now, if you watch the news, you would think, according to the latest narrative, that our gas prices are a result of the Russia-Ukraine situation. But 60% increase in the cost of our fuel happened before Thanksgiving last year. That means that the results of this year aren't impacting what happened last year. Now, in South Carolina, you could buy gas during the Trump administration at $1.99. Today, it's almost $5. And in most places, it's over $5. I saw a t-shirt while I was walking the airport. It says, give me my mean tweets and $2 gallon of gas. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to meddle. Inflation is crushing American families. And the White House tells us that inflation can be good for our economy. Excuse me? We need to put John 8:32 somewhere where people could find it then. Gas prices, inflation, economic instability. We have to be the party that saves our economy by looking back from 2016 to 2020 when we were in charge. What happened? Really simple. We brought the unemployment rates to the lowest rates in 60 years. African American unemployment rate was the lowest ever recorded in the history of the country. Hispanic unemployment, lowest ever in the history of the country. Asian unemployment, the lowest ever in the history of the country. Women, a 70-year low. And the overall population, a 50-plus year low. We created 7 million jobs. 7 million. And 2/3 went to women and minorities. You're talking about the party of inclusion. Look no further than the GOP. We produce results for America. And we don't do it for black people or white people or red people or brown people. We do it for America and Americans. We don't care what you look like. That's what we're so desperately in search of. Leadership that doesn't divide us in little tribes so that they can sell fear and division. We need a leader that stands up and says, woke no mo. Literally, we need leaders who stand up in the gap because we know that the presence of adversity is not the absence of God. And as long as America remains true to the foundation, the bedrock foundation of truth, we will have another American century. We just have to show up at the polls starting in November. Now, I believe that we're going to win the House and bring it back to the right. I believe we are going to win the Senate and bring it back to the majority. And then in 2 years, I have a dream. That with the House on our side and the Senate on our side and the White House back on our side, we will show America what leadership looks like. We will show America how you recover after a gut punch. We will show America that we, the great opportunity party, we believe in the future of this nation because we believe in the freedom of you, the individual in America. We're not going to break you down by what color you are or where you live. We're going to support giving you your money back. That's called tax reductions. We're going to say, let's drill, baby, drill again. Because we understand that the economic crisis that we're seeing around this nation, in part, is brought to you by a president who on the first day said no to the Keystone XL pipeline. He said no to drilling here at home. He said no to excavating energy at home. But he runs over to foreign lands to dictators and bullies and says, can we have the energy we can produce ourselves? We can do better, we will do better, and that starts this year, and it starts with you. God bless you. God continue to bless America.